Hey guys, Philip Leibel here, and today we're going to be talking about how to boil water using a cactus pad. So here in Texas and in much of the Southwest, we have a lot of these prickly pear cactuses. Now these are great for a number of purposes, one of which being food. You can eat these pads themselves, and you can also eat the prickly pears, what they call the tunas, the little fruit that grows on top. Another purpose is going to be medicinal. On the inside of here there's kind of a slimy green substance, and has a lot of good antibacterial properties. If you have an open wound or something, you can use that as an antibacterial agent, and you can also use it on your water. If you can't get a fire going, for some reason there's just no possible way for you to get a fire going, you can actually cut these and make a container out of them. And if you put your water in there, that's going to kill like 75% of the bacteria. Okay, so it's not going to completely purify your water, but it is going to make it much safer than drinking straight out of the creek. And the third purpose, much like using the container to drink out of, I like to cut these, make a container, fill it full of water, and then boil my water in that container. And that is what we're going to be teaching you today. We're going to make a container from these and then boil water on the fire. So when it comes to making a container out of these, you want to find kind of a younger, nice healthy pad. You don't want something that has these diseased looking areas on it, the decaying areas. You want a good solid outer part that's going to be nice and healthy. And I like to use a younger one, because a lot of times they will be healthier. So find one over here, check out both sides, make sure there's no rotting areas. This one looks okay, and I'm going to start kind of cleaning off some of these spines and give me an area to grab to, just somewhere I can hold this thing without getting those little splinters all in me. And what I'm going to do is cut this thing a little bit past halfway, okay? You don't want to cut it all the way at the top or the bottom, wherever it's connected, because then you're going to have where it kind of comes up like this, and it's going to be hard to get your knife down in there to carve out a nice container. So I'll go a little past halfway so we can still hold quite a bit of water. All right, and here's our pad. So next I'm going to clean off all these big spines. And you'll see there's the large spines, and then there's these little clusters of needles there. And those are really irritating if you get them in your skin. So I'll go and clean off all these big spines, these little thorns here. And you can save those and use them for, different stuff, sewing, making fish hooks, whatever. But for now, I'm going to clean them all off here. And then I'll just take my knife and scrape like this to get those smaller ones out of there. And it's not really necessary to clean them all off, because when you put this on the fire, most of those are going to get burned off. But I just want to be able to handle this thing without getting my hands full of splinters. So once I've got this pad cleaned up for the most part, I'm then going to have to cut down into it to form my container. So what I'll do is I'll just take my knife and start slicing directly down the middle of this pad. I want to be careful not to go, way too far to one side. I want to kind of stay in the middle, and I'll slowly work my way down deeper into that pad. Now, for the most part, I'm going to avoid getting too close to the sides or to the bottom of this, okay? I want some integrity around there because that's where all the heat's going to be. I don't want a real thin spot to burn through at. So I'll just slowly work my way down deeper, being careful as I do so. And that is our container. So once I have my container finished, I like to get a small stick and I'll just cut that down and pry it in there to hold that open. And there's my container. So you can see I've got a pretty good bed of coals going on now. And you'll notice I took 2 decent sized logs and placed them against a larger log. And that's just kind of a support system for my cactus pad. Now what I'm going to do is take those coals and transfer them all around that cactus pad to get that water to boil. You could do that directly over the coals, or you could just take 2 large logs and set them directly on the coals and put your cactus pad between there. And you can do the same with some decent sized rocks. You just need something to support that to keep it from falling over and spilling all your water. You don't want to lose that water, especially after you've gone through all the trouble to make your container, and once you've got it boiled and then it falls over and you lose it all. So you just want some sort of support system that's not going to disintegrate as it burns. So by placing just the coals around there, we should be good, long enough for that water to boil. I'll just place them all around this cactus pad. You can see my water slowly starting to boil. And every once in a while I'll just get down there and kind of blow on those coals to keep it good and hot. And if it seems like they're going to die out, I'll just take some small twigs and stuff and throw in there and keep that fire going, keep that heat going until we get this thing to a rolling boil. So I built a small fire around my cactus pad there, and it's boiling pretty good now, but I want to get it to a good rolling boil to where that foam is coming up all the way to the top of that cactus pad, just to make sure that we get that water good and purified. So I'm gonna let that go for a while, keep an eye on my support beams there, make sure they don't get too weak that they might break and let my water spill. So we're gonna keep that thing good and hot and keep an eye on it. It's been maybe 5 minutes. So with the smaller pads, it'll boil much faster. It takes a little longer with these medium to large size pads, but you get more water with it, so it's a trade-off. But we'll check back in here in a minute and see how it's looking. Our water's been boiling for several minutes now. It's good and purified. Now to take this thing off, I like to find a small branch that has another branch coming off of it, and I'll break it right there and break it below that secondary branch, and that gives me a little hook. Now if you remember at the beginning of the video, I put that stick in there to wedge my container apart, but that's dual purpose. That gives me something to dip down in there and hook to take our container off the fire. Now you want to go good and slow and make sure that your container is still strong enough to support that. So I'll slowly dip down in there, get my hook, and carefully take it off the fire. And I'll prop it up right here out of the fire and let that cool. Our water's been sitting for a while. It's nice and cooled off. It's time to see how it tastes. Now you want to be careful drinking from this thing. It's got a few cracks and burnt spots up at the top, so you want to make sure you don't spill all your water. That actually held an impressive amount of water. I mean, that was a pretty good little chug there. So down here in Texas in the Southwest, this is a very good, very easy way to boil water. It's much quicker, much easier than hot rocks. These cactuses are readily available. I mean, it just makes sense, you know. You basically have a container ready to go. All you need is a knife. So if you're down here in Texas in the Southwest where you have prickly pear cactuses, I suggest you try this method out, test it, see how you can tweak it and make it better, make it easier on yourself. And it's just a really good, simple, quick, easy way to boil water out in the woods. I hope you enjoyed, and check out our